You know, college football really is the gift that just keeps on giving because there's a game this weekend that I think a lot of people are going to overlook, but I myself am very excited for because I think it has deeper implications going forward throughout this season, but primarily in recruiting and what it means for the future. And I really need to break it down, and that is the Texas Longhorns taking on Iowa State. Before we break this game down, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you believe that the Longhorns can break their 3-game losing streak against Iowa State this weekend? And let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoy this content, be sure to like and comment down below. Those interactions, though small, are really massive to content creators such as myself and getting both picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. But with all of that being said, let's really jump into this because this is going to be a very intriguing game to me. If we look at this game in its entirety, we see two teams who are having seasons that they did not want to have. The Texas Longhorns knew that they were in a bit of a rebuild stage, but I don't think many people knew how deep that rebuild was. Myself included, I thought Texas would drop games this year, but I thought with this new coaching staff that they would be more competitive in these games. I think when we look at this game right here, it creates an interesting argument because Iowa State has found themselves in precarious situations at times this year because they fail to come out and play a solid first half, whereas the Texas Longhorns find themselves playing really solid first halves, but failing to make the required adjustments coming out the second half to be able to continue and ultimately finish the job. So this game right here presents automatically an intriguing matchup, because if we're looking at what these teams have done, this could be a situation where Texas is able to take advantage of Iowa State's slow start, and as long as the Longhorns are able to carry over their momentum from the first half into the second half, make the requisite adjustments, they could get a quality win on Saturday. However, it would be demoralizing if Iowa State came out flat in the first half, Texas came out and took advantage of that, only for Iowa State to march back into the second half and take the lead from the Longhorns. That's happened far too many times, and in no way am I saying that those type of demoralizing losses caused the Josh Moore incident. That would be irresponsible. I was not there, and there's probably a lot that went into that. What I am saying, however, is that as human beings, those sort of losses cause the emotions to run high. When you insert those emotions into a highly competitive environment, it can add fuel to a fire. And that's my only claim here. So for the Texas Longhorns, this game presents an interesting challenge against an opponent that has some really quality players, that is really well coached, and you have an opportunity to go out and try and break a losing streak. So when we look at this game for what it is on the field, we need to understand what each team does well. For the Texas Longhorns, they have an offense that ranked 30th in the nation. They have an offense that's been able to find success and offensive pieces that have been really helpful for their team. Bijan Robinson is the running back we all know him to be. He is so unbelievably talented and is so exciting to watch play anytime he can. However, I'm interested to see if we will see some of the other backs incorporated more. Roschon Johnson is a talented individual, but Keelan Robinson is an interesting individual and a name that I don't believe we've seen enough when you look at what all he's able to do. Transferring from the Alabama Crimson Tide to Texas, this was a young man that while he was at Alabama was being worked out at the slot receiver position as well as being a running back. He's got a very deep skill set, and I think I, along with many Texas fans, have been surprised that he hasn't been more incorporated in this offense. So what a time to get him more involved than against a well-coached Iowa State team. Iowa State's offense, on the other hand, ranks 45th in the nation. Brock Purdy is having statistically a decent season, though the attempts are not there. But if you look at his completion percentage and rating, he's having a decent season. They're just not throwing the ball a lot. Breece Hall is a talented running back, and he is a bell cow for the Cyclones. They are going to run through him. And Matt Campbell is a good coach. We know what to expect from the Iowa State Cyclones. Defensively is when we get an entirely different picture to this game, because right now, Texas ranks 106th in defense, and that right there is going to be something we have got to watch in this game. Texas allows 432 yards per game, and Iowa State usually gains 428 yards per game. On the flip side, Iowa State comes in with a top 20 defense, a defense that's been good against the pass, it's been good against the rush, and has some names that we need to look out for. They have a really interesting defensive scheme that's going to look to take away the long shots, which is something that's going to be interesting to see how Sark and company kind of scheme against, especially when you look at what has been so successful for the Longhorns. And Xavier Worthy has had himself a season. A wide receiver, mind you, who before the season started, I was saying, would be of massive consequence to the Longhorns as a true freshman, and look at him go. This young man's very talented, and his style matched with what Texas wants to do just makes sense. But Iowa State's going to do everything they can to take that weapon away. So it's going to be very intriguing to see how Sark and company are ultimately able to scheme this game. And in the intro, I talked about the future implications of this game, and I want to close this video talking about that. Because at the end of the day, the Texas Longhorns aren't going to make the Big 12 championship. They're not making the college football playoffs. That question is done. So why are you playing? And that's the ultimate question I would like to get to for the Longhorns. Why are you playing the game? And for the Texas Longhorns at this point, it must be pride, because there are still things on the line for this season. Though you're not going to make the college football playoffs, though you're not going to play for a Big 12 championship, you still have to worry about recruiting, and you still have to try and have a season that lends itself to success going forward. Texas is still locked in some top-tier recruiting battles. Off the top of my head, Texas is working tirelessly to try and get top-tier offensive linemen such as Devin Campbell, Kelvin Banks, and then a defensive guy who they would love nothing more than to have, Denver Harris. They're locked into a battle with LSU, Alabama, and Texas A&M. And the last thing you want to do is be a team where when one of these recruits is looking at their situation, and say it is a situation where you're going up against A&M, Alabama, and LSU, you don't want to be one of the teams where that recruit looks and say, it's going to be much harder to get where I want to go going down that path. And right now, LSU is going through coaching changes, so that is an advantage to whoever LSU is going up against. Sure, LSU will probably hire a great coach. We know what LSU is as an organization, but it does give you something to recruit off of over them, that you at least have a coach that will be there for a while. But going out and playing these games with pride puts you in a better situation to win these battles, because a recruit is going to be much more likely to choose to go to the Texas Longhorns if they finish out this season at least playing good quality football, so that that recruit can see, not only am I going to an institution with a massive brand that is positioned well for NIL opportunities, but I'm also going to an institution that looks to be building something positive in the near future. If you're Texas, you have got to give these recruits something to remember, and what a better time for it than at the end of the season when National Signing Day is right around the corner. This is the time where it will be fresh in the memory of these recruits. So go out there and play the game with pride, because that's going to be a massive selling point for a lot of top tier recruits. And it's going to show them that in the near future, there is something tangible to be excited about. But that's something that has to come through the field. And I'm very interested, because it has to start this Saturday against Iowa State, a game that many may overlook, but I think it's going to be a fantastic game. Hop down to the comments, let me know what you're looking forward to. That's it. See ya.